Welcome to MyCounselor.Online. I'm Josh Spurlock, certified sex therapist, and in this video we're going to be talking about emotional connection and the role it plays in a healthy sexual relationship. Now, one of the top 10 reasons why women don't desire to connect sexually with their husbands is a lack of emotional connection within the relationship. Women are emotional creatures. God designed them that way. They're supposed to be. And if there's an absence of emotional connection within their marriage, then the desire to connect sexually with their husband just isn't going to be there. And that's not a flaw. That's not a sign of the curse. Instead, that is actually part of God's design for sex. You see, that feature serves as a great feedback loop for husbands. That all things being equal, a wife ought to desire physical intimacy flowing out of emotional intimacy within the relationship. But when the emotional intimacy dries up or is non-existent or is breached in some way, it dries up and shuts off the desire for sexual intimacy, which, given that the husband's desire for sexual intimacy stays pretty constant, that serves as a great feedback loop for the husband. It ought to get a husband's attention that says, whoa, something's not right here. Something's not good. My wife doesn't want to connect with me sexually. And instead of being angry with her or blaming that on her and demanding a sexual engagement, instead it ought to cause curiosity. It says, what's going on here? I wonder what has happened that is leading to this, in putting forth effort in trying to figure that out so that we can heal, so that we can come together and have a healthy, fun, playful, dynamic sexual relationship between us. And so we want to recognize that emotional connection is a significant and important part of a healthy marriage relationship, and it sets the context for a very healthy, connected sexual relationship. So what I've got for you here is 5 points on how to help cultivate that emotional connection that can then lead to a healthy physical and sexual relationship. And the first point I have for you is to be friends. I know maybe that sounds crazy, but you've got to be friends before you can be lovers. If you're not friends, you're not going to be lovers for very long. That's just not the way God's designed it to work. So how do we cultivate friendship within our relationship? Well, one is to hang out, whether that be a date night or engaging and making space for each other to give each other undivided attention around the house. That means devices down, TV off, just having dialogue, conversation, interaction with each other, spending time together, quality time together, part of being friends, part of developing an emotional connection. We want to have shared experiences together, have adventures, do things together, explore the world that God's created and placed us in. That those shared experiences create bonding and connection between husband and wife. Great way to do that is to take trips. Plan within the cycle of your life for a few times a year to go on a trip, an overnight, just husband and wife. So you can get out of your roles of being parents, and out of just sharing domestic responsibilities around the house, and instead just be friends and be lovers and have that closeness and connection that lasts a lifetime, even after the kids are out of the house. You don't want to end up those empty nesters that have no relationship between each other because their relationship was all about sharing domestic responsibilities and being co-parents. You don't want that to be you. The second point for you is make out in the kitchen. And what I mean by that is that non-erotic physical affection is an important part of emotional connection. That kissing, holding hands, snuggling, having your arm around your spouse, walking closely together, that feeling that physical affection and closeness from a husband without the direct expectation of it going to sex is an important part of just being emotionally connected, and that God's wired a woman to desire that and to want that closeness. And if it is always got strings attached to it, that's going to hurt the sexual relationship. If there's always an expectation of erotic play or sex associated with any kind of physical affection, over time that will cause a woman to draw back from all kinds of physical affection because the two just get collapsed together. And if one's not open to connecting sexually because there's not an emotional connection or for some other reason, then she's not going to want any sort of physical affection because the two getting associated and one having to lead to the other. So we want to have a healthy, robust, non-erotic physical connection in our relationship in order to facilitate an emotional connection. Third, I want to say learn how to fight. Now, that's what I'm telling you is not fight more frequently. What I'm telling you is don't be terrible at fighting. Conflict is a normal part of relationship. But if we don't know how to navigate it well in a way that can actually bring us closer by resolving the things that are wedges between us, we lose respect for each other. When we fight in such a way that we use our words and our actions to tear down our spouse, to tear each other down, that destroys safety within our relationship. It obliterates our emotional connection, and it really keeps us from being able to enjoy an emotional intimacy that, again, affects our sex life. And so if we fight like that, if our conflicts turn into us really tearing each other down, you guys need to get into counseling, and you need to learn how to engage conflict differently so that those instances of disagreement don't turn into things that damage our emotional connectedness with each other. Fourth, let's talk before sex. And what I'm saying is that communication, verbal communication, is a significant thing for women. It's how women feel connected to their husbands emotionally. That sharing their day, sharing their life, sharing what's going on in their world with you and hearing about what's going on in your world allows them to see into you, that intimacy, and for you to see into her. And that intimacy that creates is the product of emotional connectedness. And the product of emotional connectedness then is that desire for physical connectedness. If we're not having meaningful dialogue and communication with each other, it's going to significantly hamper our sexual relationship. Fifth, resolve conflict. Unresolved conflict, sweeping things under the rug, stuffing it in the closet, having big blow-up fights and never really finding resolution, but just deciding not to fight anymore and move on, are killers to emotional connectedness. That over time, that just erodes away at your affection for each other. And you will eventually reach a place where you don't like each other anymore. And if you don't like each other, you're not going to want to connect sexually with each other. You're not going to have a desire for that. And so we can't allow unresolved conflict to just continue on in our life. Buy a book on communication. Learn how to talk through it. Get in with a counselor and learn how to resolve conflict so you can have an emotional connection that fosters a really rich, healthy, dynamic sexual relationship. So those are my 5 tips for you. There's more detail in the article for you to dive into. Hope that's helpful to you in overcoming the obstacles that stand in the way of you in a passionate sex life. That's it for now. Until next time, be blessed and keep loving life.